Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy. And I just have one thing to say to China. Come on, man, stop. Come on, this just isn't fair anymore. What are you doing to us? No, you gotta understand. We are the bully. You are the Chinaman. You're not supposed to punch us in the nose. Fuck. Anyways, how are you all doing? Oh, it is so lovely to be on the ride on the highway to hell as my civilization implodes. It's just so lovely. Have you seen the maps of the oil tankers as they're slowly going around the world? All right, there's this map out there. Is it Bloomberg or Fortune or whatever? They've been tracking the oil tankers that went out of the Strait of Hormuz. And the thing is, it takes a while for oil tankers to get from point A to point B, and so they're showing how the dominoes are going to fall with the disaster of the drop in oil supplies. Again, basically with the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, we've lost like 10 million barrels of oil per day, just fucking gone from the market. But the thing is, the ships that left a number of weeks ago or a month ago are still at sea. And they're going to slowly be getting into port. And basically, the issue is as soon as those ships get into port, they're going to relieve themselves of all their fuel and everything, and then they're going to leave. And then there's not going to be any ships coming in behind them for a long time. And so they're talking about this like, Asia is already getting hit. I guess April 1st, a couple of days from now, Europe should be getting their final shipments of oil from the Strait of Hormuz. And apparently for the United States, it's April 15th is when we will be getting our final shipments of oil from the Strait of Hormuz. And then after that, ships have not been sailing. So we're gonna find out what happens to the American economy at $10 a gallon gas. I'm not feeling hopeful. I'm not feeling hopeful with that. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about China, man. And I think this is kind of an interesting story to talk about with basically in relation to Nvidia's dominance with CUDA, right? So CUDA is a framework programming language for basically being able to deal with Nvidia GPUs in order to do parallel processing, right? You hear about these data centers, you hear about these servers where they have hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of GPUs. So basically you program with CUDA in order to make your little AI operation be able to get distributed amongst all of those GPUs. And so one of the interesting things, if you actually follow along with this whole, China versus US and this whole AI arms race thing, one of the interesting things that comes up is not necessarily where China is with their AI hardware. Now, their AI hardware, supposedly, we have been informed, is a couple of years behind our AI hardware. Again, what does that actually mean? Who the hell knows? To be clear, 3 years behind our hardware still means 2023. It's not that far behind. But anyways, one of the bigger problems, one of the bigger issues for China is the dominance of CUDA, right? One of the things I've talked about before is the issue of legacy anything, right? Once you start deploying something, once you start building for a particular stack, then that becomes the legacy stack, and then you're just stuck with it forever. It's just never gonna go away, right? And so one of the big issues with China is they are producing AI chips, they're producing GPUs, they're producing their AI accelerators and all that kind of stuff to whatever degree. But one of the issues I've been talking about for large scale deployments is simply the CUDA, right? That basically everybody knows how to develop for CUDA. That is the way everything has been going. And simply trying to move all of these engineers, all of these developers over to a different programming stack is just, it's a hell of a thing to try to do, especially as Nvidia is still very prominent. So one of the things that's kind of curious is it does look like Huawei is coming out and basically using a very old trick in the technology industry of, hey, what if we created a system where the inputs look identical to something and the outputs look identical to something, but the secret sauce of how it all works, that's something else entirely. We think about this with the Linux world, right? So I remember when people used to get confused about Linux and Unix. because I remember when people still remembered what Unix was, right? Anyways, right, there was a proprietary operating system called Unix. It was owned by Bell Labs that basically the entire world ran off of. And all the kinds of industrial machinery and factories and all that kind of stuff used Unix, right? You had, Stallman. Was it Stallman? Anyways, you had one of these guys come out, I think it was Stallman, come out. Basically, he didn't like the fact that it was proprietary, and so he had this idea with GNU, not Unix, the idea of, hey, what if we come up with all of these applications? What if we come up with all of these tools that look like Unix, perform the same functionality as Unix, but aren't Unix, right? And that's where we got Linux, right? You had Torvalds with the Linux kernel, and then you had Richard Stallman with the GNU, all of the other tools that go on top. That all gets packaged together, and then you have Linux. So you have Unix and you have Linux. And if you go back 20 years ago, everybody was really confused because they're like, is Linux Unix? You know, it looks the same, and you get into this whole argument. But that was basically what they did. What they did is they made something that functionally looked the same. Functionally, you interacted with it the same way, but under the hood, it wasn't proprietary. It was open source and the whole 9 yards. So what becomes an interesting question is, with China going down their open source route. So China basically seems to have determined that the way that they're going to win the AI race is to go hyper open source. We, America, are going to go hyper proprietary. They're going to go hyper open source. So they're releasing all kinds of open source models. They're pushing the RISC-V processor, which is an open source CPU. Architecture. And now what it looks like with Huawei is that they're trying to create a drop-in CUDA replacement. So we talk about drop-in is basically put it in and it works. It seems to function the same way as CUDA. It's just not actually CUDA. This might get a little concerning, boys and girls. Anyways, we're not going to go through that. This is a bit of a bloated article, but from WCCF Tech. But Huawei's Ascend 950PR AI chip just won over Chinese customers by mimicking CUDA through CANN Next, threatening Nvidia's mode. So CANN basically is Huawei's CUDA equivalent, but it is different. So what they're doing is they're basically coming up with the same commands and the same instructions and the same outputs to mimic CUDA. Let's see here. Let's see here. CUDA also plays a significant role. Huawei has tried to crack CUDA with its native CANN offering, but that hasn't worked out yet, which is why with the Ascend 950 PR, the idea is to be a direct replacement for Nvidia in training inference workloads, right? With the idea with CANN Next isn't to provide developers with a translation layer. It's to bring in near drop-in replacements for CUDA equivalents, treating CUDA as a language standard while leveraging the strengths of the Ascend ecosystem. So basically the idea being is, okay, this is the way they do it in the CUDA world. We are going to do it the exact same way in the CANN world. And maybe that will get people on board with our particular ecosystem. I do think that this is kind of an interesting way to go, and it'll be curious to see where that goes in the future. Again, Unix, right? Unix was still a very, very vibrant operating system back in 2000. Now, again, to be clear, Mac OS actually uses Unix, so you could say Unix is still around. But other than Mac OS, you just simply don't see Unix very much anymore. Again, I remember back, in 2000 when Unix was an operating system that you would really run into. Again, the whole question about the difference between Linux and Unix in 2026 is a bit of just trivia at this point in time. In 2000, it was a big issue. You could run into some problems if you didn't grasp what was going on there. And so what I think is interesting, right, if you go back to 2000, right, Unix was still very prominent. Linux was coming up, and things have switched over the years. What's kind of interesting with this, right, if Huawei and China go down the route of basically creating drop-in replacements for CUDA, so you already know how to code for CUDA, you already know how to design things for CUDA. Look, you do it the exact same way. The under the hood stuff is different, but you don't really care, right? Is this their way to get in and really start trying to destroy Nvidia's dominance, especially if this becomes prominent, starts going around the world, coders in India, coders in the Middle East, coders in Argentina. It's like, hey, you already know CUDA. Look, this is a drop-in replacement. You can start using our products immediately, and we're not going to tell you what to do with our artificial intelligence. If you want to buy our artificial intelligence, we will sell you our artificial intelligence, right? You start thinking about that, and again, that becomes a very, very competitive proposition. So I'll be curious to see how this goes for Huawei and basically for the AI China stack. It does seem like they are going down a very competitive route. It does seem like that China has a plan. Seems like China planned the work and is now, in fact, working the plan. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if our politicians here in the United States, actually had a plan and then went with the plan? Wouldn't that be lovely? That would be great. Anyways, that's not the United States. We've got whatever the hell is going to be hitting the United States on April 15th. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about China creating a drop-in replacement for CUDA? What do you think about this with other technology products? Again, basically the idea, having the underlying technology, the basically what's under the hood, be whatever it is, but then having what people interact with basically seem like I said, just a drop-in replacement, seem like what they're already used to. Could this be a very powerful tool for China to push their stack forward? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. Do remember I do these videos in order to support Silicon Dojo, free hands-on technology education that empowers you to find food in dumpsters. Yeah, it's gotta be like Grubhub for dumpsters. Well, I've been watching this guy, Eli, the computer guy, and he says you can't fight the macroeconomic forces. So, 10 years ago, it was all about, hey, how do we get rich yuppies, food as quickly as possible while they're working, 15 hours a day? Well, now all those yuppies, they're not rich and they're not working 15 hours a day. So what if we could show the ex-rich yuppies where the best dumpsters are to dumpster dive for food? And the worst part about this whole thing right here is the more I'm saying this, the more I'm like, hey, that's not a bad idea. It's like Grubhub for dumpster diving. Anyways, Jesus Christ. So Silicon Dojo teaches you how to solve your particular problems. We are having a class on OpenAI API tomorrow, actually, here in Asheville, North Carolina. We also have classes in Durham. If you're interested, take a look at silicondojo.com. If you want to support what I do, there's a donor box link down below. And with that, see y'all later.